This is Dudes Who Bet Sports.
What is up, everybody? We're back for another Dudes Who Bet Sports. A little bit of a technical issue, but we're back and we're ready to rock and roll. We're going to go over Papa Dude's Top 25 and give our college football playoff predictions today. So as our two-part series on the college football preview ends today. All right, Papa Dude, are you ready to rock?
Let's do it. It's going to be fun. I don't know about you, but I had a hard time with this.
Yeah. So this is going to be tough. There's no doubt about it. And trying to decipher what will happen with the top 12, because you do get the automatic berth from a smaller conference. They do get one, and then of course 4 automatic berths out of the Big 12, Big 10, ACC, SEC champions. So that's got to make up 5 of your 12, and then after that, it's just the at larges. But before we get to the top 12. I'll let you start, 1 through 25, because you ranked 25 of them. Start at number 25. Tell us who you've got, and then we'll kind of go from there to the top 12.
Well, before I start, I thought this was the hardest one I've ever done, and I think it's because we've had the additions of schools into these conferences, which has made the scheduling so much harder for these teams because they've added new teams into the conference. For example, in the Big Ten now, you've got Oregon added, Washington, UCLA, and USC. These are all teams that make the schedule harder for these teams. SEC, you've added Oklahoma and Texas, which makes it harder. And then the ACC, and on down and down. So it makes it much more difficult to find an undefeated team. I could not find one. I know somebody's going to come through it undefeated, but I couldn't find one. So it made it really hard. I always start out with one of the lesser conferences, a team that may come out of there with a great record at number 25. I mean, they're usually not the 25th best team in the country, but their record dictates that they get in there. And I went to the Mountain West this year for an old favorite, and I came up with Boise State as my number 25 team. Looking at their schedule, they're probably not going to go to Eugene and beat Oregon. So that's a loss. But you got to give them credit for scheduling them. And then they're the best team in the Mountain West, I think. They really finished strong last year. We got some people back. The only tough game on the road in the Mountain West looks to me like at Nevada, Las Vegas. And you never know how good they're going to be. They got some tricky games. They got Washington State and Oregon State that are nomads right now. They don't have a conference, so they picked them up in the non-conference, but both of them are at home, and San Diego State's at home as well. So I like Boise State to maybe go 11-1, and if they do that, they're going to be in the top 25.
Yeah, top 25 definitely comes down to schedule a lot of times. Malachi Nelson comes in for Boise State. I think that's a big key to their season. How does he play? Of course, this was the former number 1 overall recruit in the country, left USC, comes here to Boise. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out. This team is definitely loaded. There's no doubt. And I think what you saw last year from Boise State was a team that just got a lot better once they made the changes that they needed, they felt at least. And I think it turned out they did need to make. They got better. So I have no problem with that one either.
Right. All right. And they have a name. They have a name. They have a name. So
for sure.
Yeah. And isn't it interesting that he left USC when Caleb Williams leaves? Looks like he would be the guy to take over and the USC program, and he leaves for Boise State. That's an interesting decision, I think.
Mm-hmm. I think he didn't play. I don't think it was a fit. I don't think you just didn't hear much about him, I guess is what I'm trying to say more than anything else. So I think there was some issues there. He might be a little overrated. We'll have to just kind of see how it plays out with him. But I know if you ask Boise State, hey, you're going to get the number 1 overall player in the country from any class, they'll take him and be happy. So, yeah, that's going to be very interesting to see how he progresses. All right, number 24.
Number 24. This is a reach. I don't really think they're going to be in there, but, man, I had some trouble trying to find 24, 23.
Yeah.
So I went with – I know you're higher on this team than I am. I went with Kansas State at number 24. They always seem to lose some games they shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody goes, well, they ought to win those games. My my opinion on a team like that is they're not as talented as the games they win. And when you're not real talented, you're going to win some games you shouldn't because you're so well coached.
Yeah.
But you're going to lose some games that you shouldn't also because you're just not quite talented enough. So I look at their schedule. They got a tricky game at Tulane, second game of the year. That won't be easy to go down there and win. It's always hard to go to West Virginia. It's hard to win at Iowa State. Those are three tough road games. They've got Arizona, Kansas, and Oklahoma State at home. They have a tendency to lose a game at home somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I think the best they can do is 9-3, and I think the fact they're in the Big 12 and 9-3 is going to get them knocked down a notch because that conference is not looked at very well.
Mm-hmm. I think you're right. I when I look at Kansas State, I see a team that's not going to be overly explosive, but be pretty disciplined. And I like them. I think I've got them right around 19, 20, 21, somewhere around in there. So
I think
I'm with you.
They could be.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. We'll see. Yeah. I think, again, we talk about Malachi Nelson at Boise State. I think Avery Johnson at Kansas State, they're going to be the difference makers between that team, being where you've kind of got them or being a little bit better than that.
Yeah.
All right.
If he's better,
mm-hmm.
they may finish first or second in the league.
Yep. I agree. All right. 23. Who you got?
I'm staying in the Big 12, and I went with Arizona at number 23. I would rate them a little higher, but I don't. They lost some players that went with the coach up, I believe, to Washington. I think that's where he went, right? The Arizona coach.
Mm-hmm.
I'm almost sure he went to Washington.
Yes,
they lost some players. They did keep the quarterback.
Yeah,
which is key. I thought they were good last year. I don't know if they can do it again. Again, a lot depends on how they get through the schedule. The schedule isn't that difficult, but I just think they're going to lose a game or two along the way. They shouldn't. I got them at 9-3, and I got them at number 23.
Yeah, I think it makes sense as well. I've got them a fringe top 25 team. I think they with a little bit of luck can make a run at the playoff. Maybe not make it, but make a run. So I can't argue with anything so far. Yeah. I think the big key is, like you said, Arizona loses some guys, but they do keep the quarterback. They do keep some of those explosive playmakers. Easy for me to say. So I think this is a team that is going to be a lot of offense. And look, I think Arizona competed very well in a Pac-12 that was much better last year than what we've been used to seeing.
Mm-hmm.
I think the biggest question mark is, what is the Big 12? And to me, it's not that good. Yeah. And Arizona can probably manage to get 8 or 9 wins. And if they get 8, I think they'll be right there. So I think,
in my opinion, you look at the Big 12.
I don't know what it is.
You put most of these schools in the SEC. How many games do they win? You put most of them in the Big 10. How many do they win? They're pretty well coached teams for the most part. They're really well coached teams.
Yeah.
You got Iowa State, K-State, Oklahoma State, Utah. They are extremely well coached.
Mm-hmm.
But how good is their talent? I don't know. So I don't think they're going to get respect from the voters. And that's why I've got them a little lower.
Yeah, Dennis says he has a little bit of a problem with the coach and the players leaving. They really didn't lose a lot of stars, though. That's the thing. They did lose some players, but you look and okay, the all-world quarterback is back. They've got a running back that was second team Mountain West a year ago that transferred in. They've got a receiver that was second team Pac-12 last year and a third team All-American. They got another receiver coming in from Colorado. Like, they've got guys they can play. I think they're going to be, if the coaching situation doesn't kind of derail them a little bit, I think they're going to be a pretty solid offensive team again. Defensively, I don't know, but I didn't really know about them last year either. So
and the other thing is, how's the travel going to be? Are they going to handle those long trips? That's not easy. It's going to be hard for teams to go out there as well, but it's difficult to take your show on the road.
The key to their season is going to be, can they go to a school like BYU and win? Can they go to TCU and win? I mean, if the answer is yes, they can win 8, and that'll get them in to the top 25. All right. Who you got next?
Number 22 is another team from a lesser conference that I think could go 12-0, and that is Liberty.
Okay.
I think I'm getting this right. I've looked at so many. My magazine is just tore to hell.
Yeah.
I think they convinced their quarterback to stay,
Mhm.
and that a lot of people thought he would enter the portal for his senior year. They got an easy schedule. They got one really difficult game. If they win this, I think they go undefeated. They've got to go to Appalachian State, and that won't be easy. They get by that one. Their two toughest games after that, they have Jacksonville State and Western Kentucky both at home. If they're undefeated, I don't know how you keep them out of the top 25. So I've got them at number 22. They may lose that game in Appalachian State. I still think they're at number 22 if they're 11-1. You got to put them in there. You know how they're going to vote when some of these bigger teams start losing.
Yeah, for sure. I do want to ask you before we move on, you mentioned Boise, obviously a team we've known forever, Liberty, an up and comer that we've known forever is, or we've known the last 3 or 4 years. It's really good. And then Appalachian State, a team that's been around seemingly forever, these smaller schools. Does it, I know that we've always liked to follow kind of the smaller schools. Does it add even a little bit more for your excitement that these guys actually are going to get a shot? It may only be one of them.
Right.
They're actually going to get a shot. That is just extremely exciting to me. What about you?
Yeah, I think it's okay to have it. Now, there's going to be a pretty good team's going to get left out. And the thing that's going to hurt Liberty, I think, a lot, they qualified last year, and they played in the Fiesta Bowl, and Oregon beat them 45-6. That's not good. So if it comes down to between them and Boise State as who gets picked, I think Boise State's in over Liberty.
I think Liberty's going to have to go undefeated.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to have to hope that.
Do they take the highest ranked team or do they get to choose?
No, highest ranked team.
Okay. Well, if Liberty's
it's the same difference. They're choosing by ranking them. So
yeah.
If
they're undefeated, I think they're in.
Yeah, and the quarterback, you mentioned the quarterback, he is back this year, so that is good for him. I think the problem is, and Rob, you just took your words right out of my mouth. Rob says, I think a one-loss Mountain West Conference should get in over an undefeated Liberty. I think that will happen because I think what will happen is, at the end of the day, college football, what is it about? It's about big brands and money.
Yeah.
And Boise State or another Mountain West school is going to have a little bit bigger of a following than, say, a Liberty. So
this is, and you're absolutely right. Yeah. But this is where playing Oregon is going to hurt Boise State because they play in the second game of the year.
Yeah, and that will factor. If they run the table but lose just to Oregon,
and Oregon does what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, I think they're in without any doubt.
I do too.
I don't think it's a debate, honestly. The real debate would happen is what if like a Boise or somebody else is 10-2 and Liberty sitting there undefeated,
Oh, I think Liberty gets it.
I think they're going to get in. Yeah, I think you're right. All right, let's move on. Who's 21?
Well, this is sentimental. So I put the Sooners at 21.
Okay.
I think they get there if they go 8-4 with that schedule. And I wasn't going to rank them at all. But I don't know how you can keep them out of the top 25 if they go 8-4 in that with that schedule.
Yeah,
because they're going to have to beat some teams that I have ranked ahead of them to get 8 wins. And I don't know if they can do it.
I don't think this is a biased pick at all. By the way, I think that's very logical to put them where you put them.
I'm hearing all this stuff coming out of preseason camp on how good the defense is, how good this defense is unbelievable. Now, if it is, they may win 9. However, I got to see this defense because I've seen it before, and I see a couple of new guys in there on the defensive front, and a healthy Danny Stutzman's going to help the linebacker if he can stay healthy. But I've seen these guys before, and they haven't been too good in big games. So I've got to see it first.
Yeah, look, I think this is a team that's going to be dependent on Jackson Arnold when it's all said and done. I have confidence that this defense is going to be good. I'm with you. I don't think I am not convinced like it's a top 10 defense or anything like that. I do think it's the best one we've had in a long time. And I think if Jackson Arnold and the offensive line progress, come together, I think OU will have a good season.
Well, you know what's worrying me, and I don't know how you've been really busy and doing stuff, so I don't know how much you're following it. They're making all kinds of excuses for how Jackson Arnold is playing in the spring. I don't know, or in the summer camp. That's alarming when they're trying to say, well, the defense is so good and that's why he's struggling. Well, I've never heard that before. Have you? With these other quarterbacks we've had come up through the ranks, I've never heard them say, boy, our defense is, of course, it hasn't been very good. But I've never heard them say that about Baker Mayfield or Kyler Murray or some of the others. So that worries me some. He is the key. There's no question about it. That and the offensive line.
Yeah.
Their defense is probably good enough to win 8 games, but the offensive line has got to, and it'll get better. And that's where these first 3 games comes in. You know, we've got to win them. They're not going to be easy. A couple of those games won't be easy with a young quarterback and an offensive line that's developing. And they simply have to win those first 3. So we'll see what happens.
We'll see for sure. Again, he makes me more nervous than anything else. It really, you know, because it's 2 things. One, you do hear that, and a lot of it is we got to have something to talk about. Right?
Well, that's true. And here's another thing that's happening. Who's the most popular player on the team? It's always the backup quarterback.
Right.
So now we're hearing how good this guy is. So,
but you look at the other aspects of Oklahoma besides the offensive line, and I don't know, for some reason, I just feel like they're going to figure that out because I do too.
They always do.
You look at the defense, and even if you think, well, they're not that good, you know they're good, right? Like the defense was significantly better last year. Yeah. And if it's a lot of the same guys, like you said, with some new guys that are decent or are going to be improvements, you think and you think, okay, the defense, even if it's as good or just a little bit better than last year, that'll be okay. You know, running backs, they seem to be okay. Wide receivers, they did have an injury, but they seem to have a lot of guys there. It's just like if they had Dylan Gabriel back, I think you'd sit here and go, I'm pretty confident that they're going to be pretty good. Now, the good news is they lost Dylan Gabriel because they had Jackson Arnold and they kind of chose him. So it tells you what they think of him, but he has to go out and do it. If he has a big year, I think Oklahoma
they'll be all right.
They'll be fine.
Yeah. He may have a big year though, and they still win 8 with that schedule. That's the deal.
And that's the last part of it. Yeah. I think people have to realize what they're up against and where they're coming from.
Yep.
And I think you're just going to have to be realistic if you're an Oklahoma fan, which is going to be hard. But
it's brutal.
Again, if Arnold comes through, I expect us to be pretty good. All right, let's keep going.
All right, this is my shocker, and it's all because of the schedule.
Okay.
Number 20, making a new appearance into the top 25 after a long absence, Nebraska.
Okay. You're going to do it. All right.
I'm going to do it. I don't see any way they lose the first 7 games if their quarterback is a 5-star and he's as good as advertised. They have a PUD schedule. Let me get to it here real fast. It is, you couldn't have drawn up a better schedule.
They have set it up to where if they're any good at all, they're going to at least get to a bowl game.
Yeah, they start off, first 4 games are at home. Now, this is the way Nebraska used to schedule. All right, they got UTEP. They got Colorado. They got Northern Iowa, and they got Illinois, all at 4.
Yeah.
I mean, the first 4.
Yep.
Then they go to Purdue. Purdue's one of the lowest ranked teams in the Big Ten.
A game Nebraska would have lost last year. I will say that.
Right.
Yeah.
Then they have Rutgers at home. And then they go to Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
You look at the rankings.
And a game at Indiana is a game Nebraska may have won and won last year.
Yes.
Yeah.
If they come through that 7-0, and then here's who then it gets tough. Then they go to Ohio State and probably get beat by 40.
Yeah.
And then here's, to me, this may be the biggest game of the year for them to get into the top 25 once they get drilled at Ohio State. Can they bounce back and beat an average UCLA at home?
Yeah.
Then they go to USC. Okay, they probably won't win that. Then here's the last two: Wisconsin in Lincoln, and they got to go to Iowa. So if they win the first 7, they got to win 2 of the last 5, and they have UCLA, Wisconsin, and Iowa on there, 2 of them at home. I don't think you leave a 9-3 Nebraska, because they're going to be okay. If they win the first 7, even though they have beat nobody, they're going to be the big story. Can you imagine the blow up going into Ohio State if a 7-0 Nebraska, who won't be very good at 7-0, but say this quarterback really looks good, and they may be blowing these teams out, which is a big stretch. I understand that.
Yeah.
But when you look at that schedule, I am a huge fan of their coach. I think he did a fantastic job at Baylor. I think he's a college coach. Now, I know he failed in the pros. Throw that out the window. There's a lot of guys that are college coaches that failed in the pros. This guy knows how to coach. They got a little bit better last year. They just couldn't score. If this quarterback could come through, why can't they win 9 games with that schedule?
Yeah, agree. I think the UTEP game is a definite win. The Colorado game, I don't think I would just mark that down as a win. So I would go with that. Northern Iowa should be a win. Illinois should be a win. At Purdue, I think they'll go win that game. I wouldn't necessarily mark the Rutgers game down as an automatic.
Shit out of them.
And then at Indiana. So even if, say, they lose to Rutgers and Colorado, they're still at 5-2.
I think, though, if they lose one of those, they may not make the top 25. That's the thing.
They may not. The Ohio State game, I don't think they win. I think UCLA is going to be awful. So I think that's a win. 6-3, even at worst case scenario. And then if you can just get one of those last 2, they're at 7-5 and a much, much improved team. Yeah. So, but you're right. One more game falls their way. I think at 8-4 Nebraska, people will rank. So I don't hate it. But look, the deal is, and more than anything else, the deal is they have to actually win those games.
They do.
Those are not gimmies for this team anymore.
No, they're not.
And it's been a long time since they've won those type of games that we're just saying, "Yep, that's a win. Yep, that's a win. Yep, that's a win." This is a team. Hold on. Okay, this is a team. This is a program that has not had a winning. Now listen to this.
I know.
They have not had a winning record since 2016.
That is unbelievable.
Nebraska has went 4-8, 4-8, 5-7, 3-5, 3-9, 4-8, 5-7.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. They're better, but that's why I pause when I say, well, Colorado, they'll beat them. You know, it's been a long time since they've won games like that.
I agree.
So that'll be the interesting part of it.
But my whole thing is I do believe in the coach.
Yep.
And this is year 2. And you look at great coaches, and I rate him pretty high. What he did at Baylor he did a great job at Baylor. I rate him pretty high, and in the second year of their program, they get a lot better. And now if they had a Michigan sprinkled in here and an Oregon and somebody like that, or Penn State, wouldn't be rating them this highly, but they don't. And you got to think they're going to break out of this one of these days. It's all up to their quarterback. Is he as good as advertised?
Well, look, I think the biggest key to this whole thing is going to be, can they actually win those quote unquote easy games this year? And you would think if the quarterback is decent, the answer will be yes to that. And if it's yes, then they'll probably be in the top 25. So I'm with you.
We'll see.
All right, let's keep going.
All right, number 19. I wrestled around with this. I kept looking at their schedule. I'm not real high on them, but I do have Tennessee at number 19.
Okay.
And I think there's 2 games that's really the key for them to win 9. The first one is the second game of the year in Charlotte against a team I have highly ranked, and that's North Carolina State.
A lot of people like them. Yeah.
Yeah, that is a key game for them to get up to 19. They have to win that game. Then they've got to beat Florida, and Florida is not well thought of at all, but they're always tough for Tennessee. Florida's always been a tough game for them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they're going to beat Alabama, even though they have them at home. I don't think they're going to beat OU at Norman. I think OU gets that game. And they're not going to beat Georgia. The other games at Auburn, I think they can get that. So if they can beat North Carolina State, Florida, and Auburn, that just leaves Alabama, OU, and Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
And with that schedule at 9-3, I think they get up to 19. So I got them at number 19.
All right, 19 for you for them. And I don't know what to do with them. I think they're good, but I think it's just going to be interesting to see
Again,
how it shakes out.
They got a young quarterback who's highly rated, but he hasn't done it yet. So
they're honestly, I think them and Oklahoma are the exact same team.
They really are.
Their quarterback is just like ours, highly rated. Everybody thinks he's going to be great. And if he is, they'll be good. And if he's just kind of average, they'll kind of just be average.
That's right.
Because you kind of look at Tennessee, same way I look at Oklahoma. It's like they got pieces everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
And they should be good. And they're well coached, but will the quarterback put them over the top? That's going to be the big question. All right, let's keep going.
Okay, here's another shocker. And again, schedule is the reason. At number 18, returning to the top 25 for the first time after a long absence, I have Virginia Tech. And again, just look at this schedule.
I think they may win the ACC.
They might.
Yep.
They got a lot better last year. They found a quarterback.
Yes, that's the key.
The guy did a really good job. The coach did. And look at the schedule. They open at Vanderbilt. Then they have Marshall at home. Then they go to Old Dominion. Why are they going to Old Dominion? You asked that about Missouri going somewhere. Why are they going to Old Dominion? But anyway, you got to go to a road game. You might as well do that one. Then they have Rutgers at home. So there's 4 they got to win. They have to win those 4. Then they go to Miami. Why can't they go down there and win?
I think they can.
I
think that's going to be a big key for both teams, so that game.
Yeah. So when I look at this, there's no North Carolina State. There's no Florida State. There's no Louisville on the schedule. They're road games. Now, I've got the Miami game circled. That's a key. Then I'm looking at the road games, and I'm looking at Duke, at Syracuse, at Stanford. I don't know how teams are going to travel to Stanford. I don't know what they've got them ranked way low. I still think Stanford will be a little better than people think. Syracuse has got the young quarterback from Ohio State that's going to make them better. But those aren't too difficult. And then you look at their home games, Boston College, Georgia Tech, Virginia, and Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
I've got them at 9. I think they can win 10 with that schedule if the pieces fall for them. So, we'll see.
I think it's going to be one of those teams that if they can get on a roll early, say they can, because again, you say at Old Dominion, you say the home game against Rutgers, at Miami, at Stanford. It could go bad for them quickly.
Oh, it could.
But their games that are there, you got 20 out of 21 guys or 21 out of 22 guys back. And if you can get on a roll and even go through that 6-game stretch and be 5-1, you're feeling pretty good. And you've got the back half of the schedule really sets up well for you. People still kind of look at Clemson and go, well, that was a loss. No, that is not a good, forget about the old Clemson. That's not what this is anymore. I mean, they could totally beat them. I'm not really worried about Syracuse. I think Duke takes a big step back.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Boston College, Georgia Tech, Virginia, all at home. I mean,
they should win.
This could be a 9-3 team for sure.
Yeah, when you look at their last 6 games last year, which they won 4, they drubbed Wake Forest. They killed Syracuse. They had a clunker at Louisville, but Louisville was damn good.
Yeah.
They drilled Boston College. They lost by 7 points to a good North Carolina State team.
Yep.
They beat Virginia 55-17, and in the bowl game, they beat a highly considered Tulane team 41-20.
Yeah. Well, and three of their losses were three of the first four games of the season, and they weren't there yet. They just hadn't kind of turned that. Yeah, they just hadn't.
I don't think they went to that quarterback till later on in the year, too.
Yeah, they couldn't score early. They did get going late. Now again, I would be careful going too crazy on them because I still don't think this is a great team.
No,
but it sets up to where they could definitely go 9-3.
It's the schedule.
Yeah, it does set up well for them. Okay, who's next?
Number 17. This one, I don't know how good they're going to be, but I can't leave them out. And that's Michigan. I have them at 17.
I have no idea what to do with them either.
I don't either. They lost so much. Plus the coach. Home games, Texas, Oregon, and USC. I think for them to get to where I have them, I think the USC game is key.
Yeah, they have to win.
I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that maybe they won't beat Texas or Oregon, but the USC game is key. And then win the rest of the games they're supposed to. And then they got to go out to Washington. If they can win that one, I think they get to 9 wins. I don't think they're going to beat Ohio State in Columbus. So I've got them at 9-3, but they could go south too.
I really don't know what they're going to be. I would not play an over-under on them win total. Until you saw 4 or 5 games. The Texas game will kind of tell us if they can beat Texas and then say they beat USC, then all of a sudden they're back in the conversation.
They are.
I don't know what this team is.
I can't do it. Well, they got 3 starters back, I think, or
2 back on offense, 5 back on defense.
Yeah,
that's not good. And a couple of those quote unquote starters back on defense are transfers.
Yeah,
that played and started for another school last year. So, yeah, logic tells me they're not going to be very good when you just look at their roster and so much inexperience, but it is Michigan. They do have that, those guys that maybe they didn't play last year, but they were on that team that won the national championship.
Yep.
So if Michigan goes 7-5, I wouldn't be shocked. If Michigan goes 10-2, I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah.
It's kind of where I see them. Yeah. Okay. Let's keep going.
16, I went with another one that I'm not positive on, and that's LSU. I think we're going to know a lot about both them and USC in the first game of the season. That is a key game. So I don't know for sure about them. Wasn't it last year that they got drilled by Florida State in the first game of the year?
Yes. Embarrassed.
It happened. We don't know what USC is. I don't have them ranked, so I just don't know. But you look at their schedule, they have 2 most of their tough games are either a neutral site, USC's in Vegas, or at home. They've got Alabama, Mississippi, and Oklahoma in Baton Rouge. Yep. I put Florida down because they always have trouble with Florida, and it's on the road. And they got to go to A&M, which I have highly ranked. So I think they got 9 wins on that schedule. Mm-hmm. So I have them at 9-3, and I got them at number 16.
I'd say that's fair. I would say that's fair. I am a little. They're another one. I would put Tennessee, Oklahoma, and LSU, and we'll put maybe another one in this category as we go along here. The unknown at quarterback is there. They have a very heavily hyped guy coming in, or not coming in, but getting the start finally. So it's like, I think the key for all 3 of those teams is going to be if the quarterback comes through, because the pieces are there. They've got a defense that should be better at LSU this year. They've really worked on that. They've got weapons. It's just going to be if the quarterback comes through.
Yeah,
absolutely. But they're going to be decent. Yeah. So I like where you have them ranked. Okay, who's next?
Well, this is my dumbest one because me and you've talked about this many times. I have it 15, Texas A&M, and they will kill me. I know they will.
Oh boy,
I know, but again, I love the coach. I think it's a major upgrade. They have talent.
Yep.
The quarterback situation's the key, but this guy was playing well till he got hurt. I don't think he played at all last year. He's back. The schedule is favorable for them. They have most of their tough games at home. I think the upgraded coach is a huge difference. I love this guy. If you can go into Duke and do what he did there, you can do it at Texas A&M, I think. So that I'm banking a lot on the coaching change. Not that Fisher was awful. I just don't think he fit in there. Notre Dame, Missouri, LSU, and Texas are all at home. Notre Dame and A&M is much CTV to open the season. That is going to, if you want to see a place that will be absolutely bonkers, turn that first game on, because that is going to be something to see. I think they deal Missouri a loss. Texas is the last game of the year. That's going to be interesting too. Their two toughest road games are at Florida and at Auburn. If they win those two, they may win 10. They possibly could. Now, the thing with them, they always get beat somewhere they shouldn't. And that's what kills you. I got them at 9. Because the reason I put them ahead of LSU is I think they beat them. So I've got them at number 9.
Yeah, crazy year. If you had a season ticket to these A&M games, you get Notre Dame right off the bat. You get Missouri, you get LSU, and oh, by the way, Texas comes back. So I don't know. I don't know. I really have no idea on this team. I mean, this school is the definition of mediocre. They really are.
They never reach what they should.
I'm going to read off the since 2014, 8-5, 8-5, 8-5, 7-6, 9-4, 8-5. The COVID year they went 9-1, 8-4, 5-7, 7-6. That's the definition of A&M football. When you look back through the years, you're going to see a bunch of those and maybe one year where they get to 10 or 11. And then they go right back down. Like when Johnny Manziel came through and they had that great season, they went right back down.
That's right.
And before Johnny Manziel was there, they were right there at 8-4.
If you've noticed, they've never, other than him, they've never had a great quarterback. Their recruiting classes are always strong, but they miss at quarterback. And that was Texas's problem for so long. And I don't know because these great quarterbacks come out of Texas and they go other places, and the two biggest universities in the state of Texas don't get them. So they miss at quarterback. And I don't think this guy they got now is great.
No.
But the schedule sets up for them. You know, you start looking at pitfalls on the road. Arkansas in Arlington. Arkansas usually gives them fits. They got to go. That Auburn game is going to be tough, I think. Shoot, I could see him going into South Carolina and losing on a Saturday night, because that game is after they play LSU at home and say they win. I could see them going there. That's kind of the way they are. This year, I feel better about ranking them than I do usually, but I just, there's 2 or 3 I got on there. I just thought, hell, I'm taking a shot this year at some of these because what the hell?
You'll be either looking good or cussing by about the 4th week.
I'm sure. That's okay.
The A&Ms of old would be like 2-2 or 3-1 after the first 4 weeks of the season.
Absolutely.
So we'll see. All right. Keep going.
14, your team that you hate the most, because they're in the ACC, I keep them ranked pretty high, and that's Clemson at 14 because they're in the ACC, and I don't care what you say about them. They still have those schools number a little bit in the ACC, and they win some games they shouldn't. They're not going to beat Georgia, but the schedule isn't terribly hard. They have to go to Florida State, and they have to go to Virginia Tech, and they got NC State at home. So I just think they come through that and win 9 games. They're going to be great defensively. We know that. It's just how good are they? How good's their quarterback? Is he ever going to reach his potential? But how many games are they going to win? 20-17. I think they can win 9 with that schedule. Go ahead.
It's going to get worse and worse for this program. I'm just telling you, it is. And look, I think
I disagree with you, but
I think Dabo Swinney's a really good coach. I want to say that. I do. I'm not lying about that. But
you have to say that.
This is not going to work.
Probably not. No,
it's not going to work.
His theory is take care of the guys you got. You pay the NIL money to them, and you keep them there.
not
and
gonna
you
work.
develop them. And it's a gamble. He thinks it will work. We'll see.
Each year removed from the old way of running a program versus the new way of running a
Yeah.
program, they're getting worse and worse.
It is being proven, yes.
And use one comment that I my eyes got big on. I said, "Oh, they got the number of these ACC schools." No, they don't. They lost to Duke, they lost to Florida State, they lost to Miami, and they lost to North Carolina State last year.
Yeah. Then they got to rolling.
No, they didn't. They never got to rolling last year.
Well, they won the last 5 games.
Okay. Yeah, they did. They were 3 home games, and then
That's all right.
and then they won 16-7 on the road at South Carolina.
Well,
And
that's
then
okay.
they went and beat Kentucky in a bowl.
I'm not saying they're going to win 12. I'm saying with that schedule, I think they can win 9.
And sure, they won 5 in a row after they lost 3 out of 5 before that. I'm sorry, they're not what they used to be. Look,
They beat Notre Dame.
In this conference, listen, I hate Notre Dame. I don't know what they really are.
Oh, you're going to hate my pick of them then. Okay.
Well, this is Kevin. You have to modernize. Look, Brent Venables.
I agree with you.
And I know. Look, we know this better than anybody except the people that are Clemson people. Venables came to Oklahoma and he tried to run the program exactly like Dabo Swinney, and what he put out on the field was awful. The first year Oklahoma was awful, and he saw right away. He's like, no, that's not a thing anymore. That's not going to work. And you know what? He changed his philosophy, and in just a year of changing it, really just an off season of changing it, Oklahoma went from 6-7 to 10-3. And that's what kind of has me hyped for Oklahoma in the future, because he saw it and he made huge changes and they made huge improvements. I think Oklahoma will make another huge improvement. May not be in the record, but I think the team's going to be better. This guy sitting there and doing the same thing and expecting different results, it's not going to happen. They don't have the players anymore.
No.
And you get, everybody in the conference's number by having better players than everybody in the conference.
Sure.
The uniform's not going to win it when the people in the uniform just aren't what they used to be. So
you don't have them in the top 25?
I mean, I think you have to, because they're in such a
that's what I said.
So bad, but
I didn't say they were good.
I don't think they're any threat to make the playoff.
Okay.
All right, go on.
No, I'll agree with that.
Yep. Keep going.
All right. Another team that I wanted to pick them higher, but I can't, because even though they're so well coached, they fit the same thing as Kansas State. I don't think they're as good as their record is every year. They're just so well coached, and that's Oklahoma State. I have them at number 13. They're going to lose 3 games somewhere. They just do.
Yep.
And that's what kills them.
Yep.
I wouldn't be surprised if Arkansas doesn't go in there and beat them. It would not surprise me one
They
bit.
usually
I wouldn't
lose.
be surprised if South Dakota State beats them
They've had a habit of losing games they shouldn't early. That's for
early.
sure.
And so those are key games. Utah comes there. They probably will win that game.
Well, yeah, I mean, you just run through it. I would not be shocked at all if they lost one of the first 2 and then beat Utah. Yeah, that's what they've done.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
And then,
like for example, last year they lost at home to South Alabama, and then they won at home against K-State, Kansas, Cincinnati, Oklahoma, like BYU. So
that's what they do.
Yeah.
And then they've got to go to K-State, BYU, TCU. They're going to lose somewhere there too. Mm-hmm. I've got them at 9-3 because that's what they do. Mm-hmm. Because they really have 7-5 talent, but they'll win 9 or 10 games because that's what Gundy does. So, and with Oklahoma and Texas not in there anymore, even though they have beat OU, they did last year. Now they beat them a couple times here. The last 2 times that we went to Stillwater, they beat us.
Yep.
But we haven't been any good either. So without those 2 teams in there, I think the league's a little bit easier, obviously, but I still think they'll be 9-3, and second place in the Big 12 will get you in the top 15 probably.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the big key will be kind of how they finish it out. Here's the problem. They always kind of lose one they shouldn't early, and then they always lose one somewhere on the road where you go, how did they just lose? So
what they do
at Baylor, at TCU, at Colorado, those are tough games for them.
Yep.
Not that they're not tough for everybody, but they're extra scary for them.
Those are the ones they lose.
They just find a way. They like they went to Central Florida last year and lost 45-3, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's like, the end of the day, if last year was this year and they were going for a playoff, that's a game that would keep them out of the playoff, right? And that probably is going to happen this year. That's why you got them at 13. All right, top 12. Now, before we go to the top 12, do you have so was Liberty your highest ranked smaller school?
Yes.
Okay, so you got
Yeah. I guess I'll have to take them because they are higher ranked, although I do think Boise State's better.
Okay, so this 12th ranked team actually is the last one looking in because Liberty's going to go in at 12. But who is your number 12 ranked team?
Number 12?
Mm-hmm.
Mississippi.
Okay, so you've got them. They're the first out is going to be Mississippi. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm not buying the hype until I see it. I've not seen them win a big game yet, and I ain't picking them in that top 10 like everybody else is. I know they have talent. They got to beat Alabama. They got to beat Georgia. They got to beat these people and quit laying an egg and getting the shit beat out of you. And I don't see it. So I think this is a game Oklahoma could go in and win.
I don't think it's impossible. No. It depends on what Oklahoma is at that point.
If their defense is as good as they say it is, and if the quarterback, by the time we play them, the offensive line should be solidified. And it is all, it's all speculation. We don't know where we're going to be, but that's a game they could win. Mm-hmm. They're not going to beat Georgia. I don't think they're going to LSU and win. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if Florida didn't beat them. Their non-conference schedule is shit, and that's a good thing. I don't blame them for that. I wouldn't be surprised if they go to Arkansas and gets beat. Wouldn't surprise me.
I would be shocked.
I don't think they will, but it wouldn't surprise me. The ceiling to me for them is 10. I got him at 9 because I don't think Kiffin's a good coach. I don't. I think he's a big mouth. Not that I don't like him. I think he's funny. I think he's great for college football. He says what he thinks, and I love that. When's he ever won a big game? Never seen it. So I can't rank him in the top 10.
Yeah, I think it's easy to say when's he's ever won a big game when you coach at Ole Miss, and when's Ole Miss ever won a big game, period.
If you're going to be in the top 5, you got to win one.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I think they're going to get off to a great start.
Upon time too.
I think they're going to get off to a great start. I think they'll be 6-0, and I think you're right. The game at LSU is key. The game against Oklahoma is a total.
What if they go to LSU and get beat? Can OU go in there and knock them off the next week?
Yeah, absolutely. But I think at LSU, the game against OU, the game against Georgia, I think those are the 3. If they get 2 of those 3, they're definitely going to be in the playoff. And if they get one of them, they're going to be kind of where you've got them, where it's going to be iffy,
Yeah.
So
yeah. Now I do think Kiffin's done a heck of a job there.
Mm-hmm.
But you go play Georgia and you get beat 52-17, and suddenly you're going to be in the top 5.
Yeah.
I don't see it. Not yet.
They kind of showed they were outclassed last year. So they had some really close calls in games as well, but that's college football.
Oh, it is. And in the SEC, you have to win those.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like pro football. You got to win the close games or you're not going to have a winning season. You look at the Chiefs. Yeah. How many nail biters do they win?
Yeah.
And they're the best team in NFL. So that's what the SEC is all about.
Oh, I think Ole Miss will be in the playoff, but I don't buy them as a top 10 type of team. I think they'll be in the playoff. I think that they're not going to be a top 4 and get a bye or anything like that, but I do think they'll be in it. But all right, go ahead. So Liberty is like the 12 as far as the playoff goes for you. Number 11, these are teams that are going to make it, according to you. Number 11.
You're leaving out somebody, but anyway, that's all right.
What do you mean?
You're forgetting a little independent team that probably will make it.
Well, no, that's fine, but I'm talking about Liberty has to make it. They're your highest
Liberty, yes.
So they are number 12, now number 11. Who you got?
Liberty or Boise State, but we've got Liberty higher ranked, so it's got to be them.
Yes.
Okay. 11 is North Carolina State. I got them at 10-2. I think look at their schedule. It is nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But again, the thing with them, they always lose a game they shouldn't. And
Yeah, they will again.
probably. I love the coach. I think he does a hell of a job. Okay, I don't know whether they're going to beat Tennessee. If they beat them, I mean, why can't they win 11? Look at this schedule.
They got the keys. Grayson McCall. I mean, he comes in off a fantastic, at Coastal, and if he's good,
well, look at their schedule. Other than Tennessee, Western Carolina, Louisiana Tech, Northern Illinois, all at Raleigh.
Yeah,
that's 3. Can they beat Clemson at Clemson? They could. They won't, but they could.
Yeah.
Then they got Wake Forest at home, Syracuse at home. A tricky game at California. We don't know how these teams are going to travel out there. We just don't know, but they should win that. Stanford at home, Duke at home, at Georgia Tech, at North Carolina. That's a game they could lose. They don't have to be very good to win 10 with that schedule.
They're going to win 9. I think they'll be like number 18 or so. So no, they're not in for me.
You're probably right. I'm taking a chance on them.
Okay, who's number 10?
10. This is to jinx them. I have Missouri at number 10.
Yeah.
And again, it's the schedule. 4 non-conference games, piece of cake. And that's what they should do. And they did. And I applaud them. The key game for them, to me, is Oklahoma. That's the key game. I think they win 10 if they beat OU.
Yeah.
We're another team, though, that slips up sometimes. I got them losing at A&M and losing at Alabama. Auburn's at home. OU's at home. The other, and it's not a tough game, is South Carolina.
Yeah.
And that they could be flat and go in there and lose. I got them at 10 because of the schedule, and I think they're really good on top of that, too.
I think we see them exactly the same, and I think November 9th against Oklahoma is the game. Yep. I really believe that if they can win that one, I think they're going to get that 10th win, and I'm with you. So
the key there too, though, say they beat OU, then they got to go to South Carolina the next week. And
so Missouri historically would lose that game or lose the next week at Mississippi State. So that's kind of there's some trip ups there for sure. But yeah, I think they've got the talent. I've got them as the last team into the playoff. So,
yep.
Yeah.
God,
all right.
I hate saying that too. Whew, that hurts me.
I've got Boise at 12, Missouri at 11. When it comes,
you got Boise at 12.
Yeah. Well, as far as the playoff, I'm talking about.
Oh, I got you. Well, I could go with Boise too.
So all right. Who's number 9?
Again, if Boise's 11-1 and Liberty's 11-1, Boise's going to the playoffs ahead of Liberty. Florida State, I have at 9. I don't like them that much, but they're in the ACC again.
Mm-hmm.
It's all going to depend on that quarterback, and you know how I feel about him. This is what's he going to do? He going to transfer every year?
At number 10, I have ACC qualifier because I have they're going to get one school. I have no idea what it's going to be. None of them are any good, including Florida State. I think
Clemson or Florida State's got the best talent on their roster, probably. Mm-hmm. I think they're extremely well coached. They made believers out of me winning that game against Louisville. That was a gutty performance, I'm telling you. Yeah. And they, Louisville didn't play very well, but still, that was a toughie. Clemson and Florida are at home. They have to go to Miami. They'll beat Miami. I don't think they go to Notre Dame and win. The other tough ones at SMU. I got them losing 2. I think they could go 11-1, really, even with that quarterback, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. I hate this team.
I don't hate them, but
I think they were good, not great last year. I think they lost a lot of players. I don't like their quarterback at all.
No, I don't either.
But they play in a conference that's, it's dog shit. So
and they'll have more talent spread through the roster than the rest of these schools.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. I like I said, my number 10 seed in this playoff is ACC qualifier. You just write it in. I don't know who it's going to be.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, let's keep going. Who you got next?
Next, I have another one that again is always overrated by me, and I have Penn State at number 8.
Yeah.
And again, schedule, there's a lot of it. Key game for them, I think there's 2. Can they go to USC and win? And will they beat Washington at home? They should.
Yeah.
Then the only thing they have left is Ohio State, and it's at home. And they got kind of a little tricky game at West Virginia to open the season. That's kind of a tough one to open the season.
Mm-hmm.
And then they got to go to Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. So they could lose any of those 5. But I think they win at least 3 of them. The rest of the schedule is manageable. So I got them at 10-2. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't beat Ohio State.
Okay. Penn State, I think you hit it on the head. You go out to USC and you win that game. You can lose your 2 that you always lose. Mm-hmm. And you'll still make the playoff. Does that mean you're like an actual, contender? No, but
you're going to make it.
You could make it.
They would have made it a lot of years if there were 12.
That's the next thing I was going to say. They would have been in under Franklin a lot, even though at the end of the day, you look around and it's like, they're not going to win this thing, but they're in it. And if Allard, and I agree with this, if Allard plays fine, they are a legit contender. If not, they are the same position. And I know, Dennis, we've talked about what makes you think Allard's going to do anything. He was not. He was borderline awful last year. I'll just go ahead and say it. But
he was a freshman.
I know, and he could get a lot better, but he didn't show any signs to me anytime. So, but I do agree they're in my games. Playoff because
they still won 10 games.
Exactly, and I think they'll do the same. So they're still in the playoff to me, but they're like irrelevant.
Let's put it this way. A lot of schools would like this record every year that they have.
Oh, absolutely. I can't argue that. No. Okay, keep going.
All right. Number 7, the Big 12 conference champion, the Utes from Utah.
I love Utah this year.
7. Yep. All key. The whole thing. Can he stay healthy?
Yeah.
Can Rising stay healthy? If he does, who can they not beat in the Big 12? They got Arizona, Iowa State, and BYU at home. The key game, they got to go to Oklahoma State and they can win. And Utah State's a rivalry games. You never know, but they'll win that one probably. They got to go there. I got them at 11 wins. I got them 11-1, and I got them ranked 7 because the Big 12 is not going to get that much notoriety.
Yep. I'm with you. I really like this team. I think they have a great season. I do think there are a couple games where they could trip up, but I think overall they're going to be okay. So I'm with you. I like them. Yep.
That's a tough place to go win a game. I just don't see Iowa State going in there and beating them. Now, if they had to go to Iowa State, that's different. But
I mean, they should probably still beat them even if they had to.
Well, but it would be harder.
Okay.
You ready?
Yep.
Number 6, again, I hope I jinx them. Texas at number 6. You don't like that?
Mm-mm.
You think they should be higher?
Lower.
They have suffered a major blow in the fall when their running back is out. Saw somewhere they were crying because they only had 3 running backs on scholarship, I think. Boo-hoo.
Right.
The whole key game for them is Oklahoma. That's the key game. It always is.
Mm-hmm.
I do think they'll beat Michigan. I don't know if they'll beat Georgia. And I think A&M's going to beat them. So if they beat Michigan and beat Oklahoma, they're going to win 10. And the Oklahoma game is always just a crapshoot. You don't know. If OU comes in there 5-0, they might beat them. I'm not saying Texas is a whole lot better than Oklahoma. They haven't been. They weren't last year. They lost. So, and it wasn't a fluke either. So their schedule's not very hard by SEC standards.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I got them. Oh, I got them where they're at.
I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if they made it. I just feel like they're just a smidge overrated. Maybe I think you got them too high. I think they could make it. I don't think they'll be. Maybe they're 11. Maybe they're 10 or 11 when it comes to.
I'll tell you one thing. I'd like to talk to the SEC people and say, why did you give them this schedule? Look who they got. Okay, who's the worst team in the conference? Vanderbilt.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's give them Vanderbilt and let's make them go on the road and play Vanderbilt. Okay, who would you say is the second worst team? Mississippi State.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in Austin. I don't think this is the third worst team, but that's the way they got them ranked. Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
So they play the worst, the next worst, and the next worst. They got Kentucky. Now, that might be a tough game in Lexington, but no, it's in Austin. Come on.
Well, they do draw Georgia, you know.
They did draw Georgia. Well, okay. So do
And
a lot of
A&M.
teams.
Yeah.
And they got Florida, but guess what? It's in Austin.
Well, I'll put it to you like this. If we had the schedule Texas had,
We would be ranked 6.
I would think we could make the playoff. Yeah.
Why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
Okay, you look at their schedule. Colorado State, yeah, I think we beat them. Will we
Mhm.
go to Michigan? Probably not. Texas San Antonio? I think so. Louisiana Monroe? I don't believe we could beat them. Mississippi State and Norman? I think so. Then we'd have Texas, Georgia. At Vanderbilt? I think so. Florida at home? I think so. At Arkansas, if we were good, yes. Kentucky at home and A&M. I think we could win 9.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I
Maybe 10.
think so. Yeah.
So thank you, SEC. If I was them, I would be, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I think it makes a ton of sense. To say that they're like I said, if you had that schedule that OU had, I think it would be a much, much different story. But again, the other thing that in preseason for sure, people look at is the quarterback back. Yes. Was he good? Yes. Okay. They're going to be really good. They just go to the next.
Well, that's
team.
true.
Yeah.
Then you look at the schedule. No Mississippi.
It's
no
there.
Alabama.
Yeah.
No Missouri. No LSU.
Yeah.
Guess what? We got all of them.
Yeah. I mean, it's there for
This
them.
is total bullshit. This is the SEC saying, we love you, Texas. Come into our conference.
No, it's
You're the
not.
best."
It's
yes,
not
it
that.
is.
No, it's not.
Why didn't they get somebody else?
Well, you're forgetting that like
What?
Florida used to be a good team,
But they're
right?
not now.
I mean, going to Arkansas used to be a tough game.
It's
You
not
know,
now.
going to A&M is not an easy game. Like
They got.
they
Three
didn't
games.
sit there and go, well, we're going to screw Oklahoma. I mean,
They
that's
wouldn't have got Oklahoma if they didn't have to play them.
I mean, that's some real. I think you may have been listening to Oklahoma media a little too much.
No, it's common sense.
Because the other part of this
Gotta use
is the OU schedule, like Mississippi and Missouri, they're both really tough games. Well, year in and year out, that's not really.
They're not. I
So,
agree. I
It's luck. A lot of it was that OU kind of got some bad luck
Yeah, they sure did.
because, like, not that going to Missouri and Ole Miss would ever be like quote unquote an easy game, but they're not playoff contenders most years, like.
No,
So
I'll give you that. But
if you put them at like their normal 8-4 type of teams, or 7-5 or 6-6 even,
well, okay.
then our schedule isn't that tough. And
they
then if you put Florida where they usually are and where
Yeah.
they should be, all of a sudden Texas has a tougher schedule. It's just
But they haven't been.
But
Mississippi
that's not the
State,
point.
Vanderbilt.
They didn't sit
Wait a minute.
down and go, okay, we're
Wait a
going to
minute.
give Texas an easy schedule and Oklahoma.
Wait a minute. They got 4 schools: Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, Arkansas, and Kentucky that are never playoff contenders. We got South Carolina.
Well, we also got Auburn.
What? Auburn won the national championship like 6-7 years ago.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the luck of the draw. It is what it is.
Well,
You got to play who they put on the schedule.
I'm
I mean,
sorry, but
it's a lot of excuses. At the end of the day, if we're going to sit here and complain, a good Oklahoma team should win 9 games. And if they don't, then they're not any good.
I'm just saying if
And
Texas,
But they're not up to the standards of what Oklahoma should be.
well, they're not.
So
But
That's my
I'm not
opinion.
saying that. I'm just saying they got an easy schedule by
It is
SEC
easy.
standards.
Yeah, it's easy.
Everybody says Missouri got an easy schedule. Why can't we say Texas did?
Yeah, again, with Missouri, it's the same kind of thing.
You take Michigan off that schedule.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah.
It's bad. Yeah. But
Way,
again,
if I think Oklahoma plays Michigan next year, I would be on the phone right now and I would say, guys, how much money do you need to take this game off the schedule?
But again, with the schedule, it's just like it's just kind of the luck of what you get. And also, you have no idea what these teams are actually going to be.
Well, no.
You can throw a lot of these teams in the same pot, and some of them will disappoint, and some of them will be even better than
I've ever seen. It's the hardest ever.
For OU, yeah, but what if you get to
for everybody trying to rank them?
For sure. But like for OU, for example, what if you get to October 26th and Jackson Dart's out and Ole Miss has been shitty? Well, all of a sudden that's not that tough of a game. Missouri, what if they are Missouri and they fall apart? Well, that's not that tough a game all of a sudden.
Yeah, we'll see. So
it's not. I mean, I know it's a preseason thing. Everybody bitch about the schedule. You just don't know. Yeah. What if Alabama's not very good this year? I don't think that's the case, by the way. What if they're not? Well, they'll come to Oklahoma in November and they've lost 4 games. Well, shit, you ought to beat them. So all of a sudden that game that everybody's like, that's the toughest game on their schedule. It's like, oh, no, it really wasn't, Yep. I remember one year when Missouri was supposed to be good. And then it's like, oh, that'll be a really tough game. And then we got to the Missouri game and they'd lost 5. And it's like, oh, that was one of our easier ones, So it is what it is. I mean, you have to let it play out. Okay. I seriously think you need help if you think the SEC sat down in a room and said, we'll give Texas an easier time than Oklahoma. What would be the motivation of that? Why would you do that?
I don't know, but I think
that's what happened. Yeah. All right.
Everybody loves Texas. Okay. Ready?
Next. Yes.
Number 5, and I think they have a very difficult schedule. So just going with good old tradition is Alabama at 5. And I think they could slip. I don't think there's any doubt about it. And you look at their schedule, it's pretty tough.
Yeah.
They got Georgia, Auburn. The Auburn game, it's like OU, Texas. Throw it out the window. You don't know what's going to happen in that. Mm-hmm. It is at home. They have Missouri at home. So Georgia, Missouri, and Auburn at home. They got to go to Tennessee. They got to go to LSU. They got to go to Oklahoma. Whoa, they didn't draw Texas. Well, anyway, so they drew everybody else. I mean, it's a tough schedule. And that, the game at Wisconsin, I think that romp them, but it's early, young coaching or new coaching staff got to go up there. I think second game of the year. So a tough schedule for Alabama, much tougher than usual again. Yeah. So I do think there's a lot more talent there than people think. I think they're going to lose a couple, though, but a 10-2 Alabama team with that schedule is pretty dangerous.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think, listen, I think they're going to get better and better as the year goes on. I do think they'll have some growing pains. They got a lot of talent back. I mean, it's a team that made the playoff last year. I think they'll be okay, but I don't think they're going to be great, but I think they'll be good enough to make the playoff. I'm with you.
They're going to be hard to play. That's for sure.
I'm with you on that one. Okay.
Yep.
Next.
All right. Number 4, the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. I knew he was going to start shaking his head.
Oh, God.
Talk about listening to Oklahoma media. Holy cow.
No, listen.
Now, wait a minute. Have you seen your schedule?
It doesn't have anything to do with Oklahoma. Have you seen the games they've lost the last 2 years under Freeman? This team every year, and it's like this team lost to Marshall 2 years ago. This team lost to Louisville last year. I mean,
Louisville was pretty good.
I
don't. They lost 3 games last year.
I don't buy it.
Okay,
go ahead though.
Look at the schedule. Okay, I don't know they're going to beat A&M. That's the key game for them. If they win that game, look at the rest of these.
Yeah.
Northern Illinois, at Purdue, Miami of Ohio, Louisville's at home, Stanford, Georgia Tech, Navy, Florida State at home, Virginia, Army, and at USC. How do they not win 10?
So does a 10-2 Notre Dame really finish that high, I guess.
Yes, it's Notre Dame.
Yeah. I don't know. This is a pretty horrific schedule.
It's awful.
Yeah. I do think, a game like Florida State, it could be tough for them.
It could.
Yeah.
Now they got the transfer quarterback from Duke.
Yeah.
And that's the key. It's a lot different, as Sam Hartman found, it's a lot different playing at Notre Dame than it is wherever he was at, Wake Forest. And this kid's going to find out it's a lot different playing in Notre Dame than it is at Duke. No, or at Duke. So that's the key. I think if they go in and beat Texas A&M, they're going 11-1, and that's giving them the benefit of the doubt, losing to Florida State or at USC.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they may not be very good.
Yeah.
It's all based on schedule.
All right. Go
I
ahead.
don't see how they don't make the playoffs.
Okay. Who's next?
I got Ohio State at 3, and I don't like them at all. But again, their schedule's shit. I don't see a way they can lose more than 2. I don't know if they will even lose that many. 3 tough games, Michigan, and that's at home. They got to go to Oregon, got to go to Penn State. So you win 2 out of those, you got 11, you may be number 1. So I don't like Will Howard. He couldn't be the starter at freaking K-State some of the time. Now you're asking him to go to Ohio State. Of course, he's going to have a lot better players around him.
Mm-hmm.
But I just can't pick them to win it all with him. It's not that I don't like him. I just don't think he's as good as the guys they've had up there. I don't think so.
No.
And they haven't won it with them.
Mm-mm.
I don't know how good a coach Ryan Day is. I think he's okay. I don't know how you could fire the guy with the record he's got.
Yeah.
But I just think they're going to slip up, and I think they're going to get beat. I'm thinking, though, they're going to go ahead and just lose 1.
I'd say the new college football, though, you don't have to – if you get beat, slip up and get beat, doesn't mean what it used to.
And a 1-loss Ohio State team's good, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And they have talent everywhere.
Yep.
So I got them at 3.
Okay. Number 2.
Again, this is all based on schedule. I'll probably regret this totally. I have Georgia at number 2 because their schedule is brutal.
Oh my God! We are gonna hear the biggest Dylan Gabriel bias ever when you announce number 1.
No, I'm not, because of the schedule. It's all about the schedule.
Okay, so Georgia number 2.
Let me preface this: if Georgia goes 11-1, they're going to be 1.
Okay,
because Oregon would have to go 11-1, and they're not going to put Oregon ahead of Georgia.
Okay, so spoiler alert. I'm
thinking Georgia's going to lose 2.
Okay,
with this schedule,
which is fair. They
never
could
played a schedule like this.
Yeah,
never.
This is a tough schedule. Yeah,
it's really tough. You got to go to Alabama, Texas, and Mississippi, and you got to play Tennessee. I mean, it's a tough schedule. If they've never, ever played a schedule this tough in the SEC. So that's what I'm banking it all on. No, I don't think Oregon is better than them. And let me preface this. If they go through that and they're 11-1, SEC must hate them. Good, Rob. That's good.
So Alabama got a tough schedule. Georgia got a tough schedule. So they obviously hate them both. Yeah.
Now, the reason why they have a tough schedule, Rob, is they don't play divisions anymore, where they were in that piss-ass East Side, and they played nobody.
That's my point. Now it's just the luck of the draw. That's you just proved my whole thing I was saying. Yeah. There isn't any tinfoil sitting in a room screwing teams.
I'm gonna give you this. I can't freaking believe that Georgia and Alabama are playing in the regular season. I cannot believe that.
It's been a long time. It feels like it's been 100 years.
I can't
know it hasn't,
believe
but-
that the SEC has the audacity to have
So-
Alabama and Georgia play each other.
Here's the problem we're all going to have. Okay. And it's not you. I'm going to have the same deal, and people listening have the same deal. This is going to be different.
Yes, it is.
Because the one loss, like in the past, that Alabama Georgia game, that could be for it all on September 28th. It's not the case this year.
No.
It's a big game. Both teams are going to want to win it.
Yeah.
Just like both teams are going to want to win it when the Chiefs and the 49ers play. But at the end of the day, it's not gonna that if you lose, your season's not over. And
Rob, I was just getting ready to say this, Rob.
Yep.
They may play each other 3 times. It's possible.
It is possible that they could do that. And it is also like I said, you're gonna see this kind of thing because it's not the end of the world anymore.
No.
So
and that's has been the argument a little bit over the years about expanding to 12. Will it cheapen the regular season?
Yeah.
And my argument has always been, no, are you kidding me? No, because there's still going to be a battle to get into those playoffs, and there's still going to be some big time games the last couple of weeks of the season.
Yep.
To get in there.
I think I think it's going to intensify the last 6 weeks of the season even more because think of it like baseball. When baseball expanded playoffs, all these teams are still in it. Where this time of year in the past, there's a lot of teams that are out,
Boring. Yeah.
And now everybody's kind of in it. And so that's what's going to happen. Now, maybe the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season won't be quite like that, but that run to the end is going to be interesting. And it's going to, like I said, if you're let's just put Oklahoma from last year. They're in the playoff, and in that those last couple of games where quote unquote nothing was on the line, they're trying to get in, you know. So
And and the other thing about these tough schedules, and you've mentioned it, we don't know who might get hurt.
Yeah,
let's say Carson Beck gets hurt.
Yep.
Well, with the piss-ass schedule they've played in the past, we've seen it. Second string quarterback goes in there and wins the national championship.
Yes. Yeah.
And with this schedule, they may lose 2 or 3.
Let's say he gets hurt at Kentucky and he's out 5 weeks. He's going to miss at Alabama, Auburn, Mississippi State, at Texas, and then Florida. They could lose 2 easy.
This whole thing has changed. So, and then I've got Oregon at 1.
Okay.
And again, I like them to beat Ohio State. I don't know if they will. And I was talking to my buddy today, who's a really big Michigan fan. He made a really good point that I hadn't really sat and thought about. A team like Oregon, who he says is very good, obviously, are they going to be able to come into a league that's totally different than what they've been in the style of play that they play? But if you'll remember, a couple of years ago, they went into Ohio State and kicked their ass.
Mm-hmm.
So, but will they be able to play that physical football week in and week out? That will be the key.
Yes,
but
they will.
I think they're good enough too.
I do too.
When you look at their schedule, it's not real difficult. I mean, anytime you got to play Ohio State and Michigan, it's obviously tough. One of them's at home, one of them's on the road. They traditionally have a little bit of wait a minute. They usually handle Washington, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they've got them, and it's at home. They got to go to USC, and that won't be easy. And they got that rivalry game with Oregon State, but Oregon State's lost their coach and lost a lot of stuff. If they beat Ohio State, I think they could go undefeated.
But just to correct you real quick, they go to UCLA. They don't go to USC.
Oh, UCLA.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Wisconsin. It's Wisconsin. That's
at Wisconsin. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I look like USC, my handwriting, but it's at Wisconsin, and they should win that game. But they could lose that game too. So you can say that about all of them.
Yeah.
Would I bet any money on Oregon winning the national championship? No, not a penny.
Okay. Well, let's do this now. Now I'm going to make you pick the national championship. We're going to go game by game here. Okay. This is just for fun. Nobody's going to hold you to this. Okay.
I don't.
So your 5th team was
let's see who I have in the playoffs.
No. That's what we're gonna do. Your number 5 seed was who?
Alabama.
And they'll take on Liberty. So
That was
I'm guessing
fun, wasn't
Alabama, right?
it? Alabama will take on Liberty.
Okay. So you got
They'll be a
Alabama going to the next
45-point
round.
favorite going into that game. If that
All right. All right. Who was
six
number
is
6?
Texas.
6 was Texas. They take on 11, who was
That would be Missouri,
okay.
I think.
Well, who
Let's
was your
see.
number
My
11
11 was
ranked
North
team?
Carolina State, but I don't have them making the playoffs.
Well, no, then yes, you do. If they're number 11, you've got them in the
because-
playoff.
Huh?
If they're number 11, you have them in the playoff.
No, because I'm thinking the ACC is only going to get one school in there.
Why did you rank them number 11 then?
I'm not saying they're going to be number 11. That's where I ranked them.
Okay. You have the North Carolina State and Texas. Who's winning that?
Texas,
Okay. Who's number 7?
Utah,
Taking on
Missouri,
who wins that?
Utah.
Okay. And then
They're
8,
tough.
9 is
They'll
who?
get them at home. 8's Penn State, Florida State. I'm going Penn State.
Okay. So Oregon, Penn State.
Oregon.
Okay. The 2 was Georgia taking on
Utah, Georgia,
okay. The 3
Ohio State, Texas.
Okay.
Ooh. That's a hard one.
that's a tough game.
I'm not high on Ohio State.
You taking Texas?
Can't root for Texas. Have to take Ohio State.
Okay, Ohio State. And then the 4-5 matchup was at
Notre Dame, Alabama. If Alabama is 5 and they make it there, they will win it.
Alabama will beat Notre Dame by 3 touchdowns if that's a matchup.
I
I'll say
said
that right
if
now.
they're 5th. I said that. If
Okay.
they are 5th.
Okay, they're in. So Oregon, Alabama in the semifinal.
If Alabama is that good, they will beat Oregon.
Okay, so you've got the number 1 team. You've got them getting beat to Alabama, and then the
Georgia,
Ohio
and
State.
Ohio State, Georgia.
Yep. So Georgia and Alabama, you got the national title.
Oh, Kevin says Notre Dame can't be higher than 5. That's right. He's
They
right.
can't?
No, but they can be ranked number 4, Kevin.
Wait a second.
That's right, because the 4 conference champions are 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh shit, I forgot about that.
That's right.
Well, this is
So-
ours, so we're going to ignore the rules. I don't want to redo
Well,
it.
we got to get Alabama out of there, and Utah would be 4.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Oregon would be 1, Georgia 2, Ohio State. No, Ohio State have to be out of there too. Utah would be 4, and Florida State would be, or Utah would be 3.
Oh,
and
no.
Florida State
I don't
4.
want to be. No, we're not getting into it.
No, so what we need to do is put our playoff teams.
Okay.
Okay, you ready?
Yep.
I got 3 from the Big Ten.
No. Okay. Number 1 would be Oregon. Number
Right.
2 would be Georgia.
Right.
Number 3 would be Utah, and number 4 would be Florida State. Correct.
Okay. Now, this is bullshit too, because no way is Utah and Florida State 3 and 4.
Doesn't matter. We're going to do it like they have.
I know, but
So-
that's ridiculous. I
but
didn't
that's
know
how
this
you have
existed.
it. That's how you have it.
I know, but it's wrong. Okay,
No.
next. Notre Dame is 5.
Okay. Notre Dame would
No,
be 5.
no.
Ohio
Ohio
State.
State is 5.
Okay. Who's 6 would be Notre
6
Dame.
is Alabama.
Oh, no. You have
No,
Notre Dame ranked ahead of
Notre
Alabama.
Dame is 6.
Okay.
Alabama's 7.
Okay.
Texas is 8.
Okay.
Penn State is 9.
Okay.
Missouri is 10.
Okay.
NC State is 11.
Okay.
And Liberty or Boise is 12.
Okay. So now let's start over. Ohio State versus Liberty. Who you got?
No, yeah, Ohio State, easy.
Okay.
Victory.
Okay. Notre Dame against North Carolina State.
Notre Dame.
Yeah, they might. I would agree. If it falls like that, they might actually beat them. Alabama and Missouri.
Bye, Tigers.
Okay. And Texas and Penn State.
Bye, Nittany Lions.
Okay. Okay. Oregon and Texas.
Bye, Longhorns. Dylan
Okay.
Gabriel sticks it to you again.
Georgia and Alabama in the quarters. Holy cow.
Holy shit. Georgia Bulldogs.
Okay. Utah and Notre Dame.
Utes.
And then Florida State, Ohio State.
Buckeyes.
Okay. And then Oregon, Ohio State in the semis.
Second go around. This would be at a neutral site, correct?
Yes.
Goodbye, Dylan Gabriel.
Oh. And
No.
then
No, I'm picking Oregon.
oh, you're picking Oregon, okay?
Yes.
And then Georgia and Utah.
Oh, Georgia.
And then Oregon, Georgia.
No. Have to go with the Bulldogs.
Okay. So Georgia gets it.
Wouldn't bet a nickel on that either. I wouldn't bet a nickel on any of this.
So this, I have to redo
is
mine
hard.
because I did not realize that these conferences got automatic
No,
top 4.
that ain't right.
So my
But-
my number 4 seed is quote unquote ACC qualifier.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess it's Vinny
So
says Louisville's winning it all, and it's totally unbiased. Yeah.
well, hell, Louisville could be the ACC qualifier. I
They
would buy
could.
that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I doubt it. but
Not winning it all though.
no. All right, hold on.
Yeah,
gotta change
I mean,
mine
you
up.
take a team like Utah, say they do win the Big 12, and you think they're better than the ACC, which I think if it was Florida State, they would be 3 and Utah would be 4.
Hold
just
on. I got
because of-
while you're talking, I gotta redo all this.
No, you don't.
Well, no, I didn't realize. I
This
gotta.
doesn't mean shit. Oh, you're redoing yours.
My top. Yeah, I had the.
That's right.
top-
You sit there and you put me out here on a limb. I want to hear yours.
Well, I have it, but I have to hold on. I have to reseed it all because I forgot that they get the qualifiers.
Yeah, and I
Ah,
forgot
damn
Notre
it.
Dame can't be any higher than 5.
Well, Notre Dame isn't even in mine, so
Oh,
there's that much to it.
listen, I want to hear this because I didn't. You did this all different. It's different. Who's won? Georgia.
I've got. Hold on. I'm trying to figure this out. I can't do 2 things at once. I'm not that good.
Well, who's your top 4?
Okay. So do I have all of them? Okay. Yeah. I've got Georgia, Ohio State, Utah, and ACC qualifier. That's my top 4. And then I went Oregon at 5, Alabama at 6.
You don't think the AC? Okay, you got to leave them there because you don't know who it is.
Right.
I think if it's Florida State, they're ranked ahead of Utah.
No way.
Anyway, that doesn't matter.
Oregon
All right.
5, Alabama 6,
Who's 5?
Oregon's
Oregon,
5, Alabama 6, Penn State is 7,
Okay.
Ole Miss 8.
Boo.
I've got LSU at 9.
Okay.
I've got where am I? Who in the hell did I? Oh, Missouri is 10,
Okay.
Texas 11,
Okay.
Boise 12.
Okay.
Okay.
So you got Oregon against Boise,
Yep, I'm gonna take Oregon.
Alabama against Texas,
I'll take Alabama.
Penn State and Missouri,
I'll take Missouri.
and Ole Miss and LSU.
Whew. I'll take Ole Miss.
They'd have to beat them in LSU. You realize that?
No, I have Ole Miss ranked ahead of LSU.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I'll take Ole Miss. But Missouri's going to Penn State and winning, no doubt. So that would leave Georgia would be playing Ole Miss. Give me Georgia. Ohio State
will play Missouri.
would play Missouri. I think Ohio State will beat them.
Or with it, yeah. Then Utah and LSU.
No, Utah and Alabama, and I'd take Alabama.
Yeah.
And I would take Oregon over the ACC qualifier. So then I would take
You
I'll
got
take-
Georgia over Oregon.
I'll
probably.
take Georgia over Oregon, and I will take I'll take Ohio State.
So you got Georgia and Ohio State.
Yeah, I'll take Georgia.
Will Howard against Carson Beck.
Yep. I'll take Georgia. There you have it.
Well, I think this is setting up to be one of the most unpredictable years ever.
Ever. Yeah.
I think
I'm going to write. Hold on. I'm going to write something in. I've made a decision on my ACC team. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
SMU.
Oh my God. Okay.
I've got SMU.
It's good.
All right. You kind of look at this, say it's Oregon or Alabama or Penn State or Ole Miss, and they're taking on Boise. That's interesting.
A lot more interesting than if it's Liberty.
If we get an Alabama-Texas matchup, that'd be very, very good. Penn State,
Oh,
Missouri.
yeah.
All these are going to be good matchups.
Oh, yeah.
I really think what's going to screw up, or what's going to be like maybe not as fun as we thought, is what I totally forgot about, that Kevin O brought up, that the 4 conferences champions have to be up there in the top 4.
Yeah.
I
should have remembered that, because I heard him talking about the other day on Oklahoma media. Was talking about Oklahoma State had a chance to be the number 4 seed, or even 3.
See, that's just it. You gotta assume that the winner of the Big Ten and the winner of the SEC, they're probably going to deserve to be in the top 4.
And
the ACC and the Big 12 are skeptical, and that's not saying there won't be a team come out of it. But let's say the Big 12 is like the champions 9-3, which is possible. And same with the ACC; they just beat up on each other. I get letting them in the playoff, but they really probably shouldn't be one of those top 4 seeds. So
let's see. When has the Big 12 won a playoff game? Never. Not since they went to 4.
Right. Yeah.
Because Oklahoma's been in there, I don't know how many times. Maybe Texas.
Yeah.
Did they have 4 when they won in 2000? When they won in 05?
I don't remember. No, they did not.
I don't think they did.
TCU did. That's right. Rob's right. TCU
Oh, that's right. That was a couple of years ago. Yeah.
But now that I think about it, these seeds don't mean a whole lot, because once you get to the final 8, they're all at neutral sides. Yeah. So, I guess getting the bye is a big deal. So I shouldn't say they don't mean anything, but once you get to the final 8, they're all neutral. So what does it matter?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So, okay. Anything else?
Well, I don't know. You kind of look at these last 4 or 5 that get in, you might be able to make an argument that they're better than the 3 and the 4, but
yeah,
that's irrelevant.
Rob says, do they reseed like the NFL or hold it like the NCAA? They hold it according to my college football game. They do not reseed. So that's all I can base it off. According to College Football 25 on PlayStation, they do not reseed it. So, yeah.
I wouldn't think they would, because, well, I don't know, because they're played at neutral sites. Mm-hmm. So the final 8 are. Mm-hmm. I don't know what difference it would make who was coming into play.
Yeah. Yeah. Is round 1 right after championship week?
I would think so.
Let me look this up to be sure.
I would think they play those first 2 rounds and then take a break for the final 4, like they always have. It seems
like there might be a break for the Army-Navy game, and then they play it. So I'm going to look that up. Let's see. 24th is the championship week, is the 1st through the 7th. Yeah. Army-Navy is the 8th through the 14th. And then I think, or excuse me, Army-Navy is the, Army-Navy is 12-14. Okay. And then it looks like there's going to be bowls played then as well.
Oh, those minor ones will be.
Yes. And okay, the first round of the college football playoff will be December 21st.
Really?
Yes.
And then it's the second round, the 28th?
And the second round will be, I don't see it. The second round will be the 31st. And the 1st. The quarterfinals will be the 31st and the 1st, which means the semifinals will then be the 9th and the 10th, and the national championship game will be played on the 20th.
Holy cow. They have pushed that way back.
Yeah. So national championship game on the 20th, the semifinals on the 9th and the 10th, quarterfinals on the 31st and the 1st, and then the opening round will be played on the 21st. Okay.
What happened to these kids are missing too much school. They're missing.
All right, we got to go. That's it. That's
like
the list. We've done all we could do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, we'll be back next week. Next week, we'll start pro football. That's right. Well, not the games, but we will preview pro football next week. Plus, next week, we'll pick a couple of college games, believe it or not.
That's right.
Yeah. And then after that will be first week of college football. We'll be right into the actual game. So one more preview show plus a couple of games next week we'll talk about, and then we're right back into it. All right, guys, we're going to get out of here for now. I think we've covered enough today.
Yep.
We figured it all out. No reason to watch the season. It's already figured out.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
All right, guys, we're going to get out of here. We will be back next week for more. Thanks, everybody, for joining us, and everybody have a good rest of your Thursday.
This is due to Bet Sports.